Welcome back to Geeky Reviews. I'm your host, Michael Wilkerson, and this is going to be my review for Season 1, Episode 6 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. titled FZZT. This episode premiered back on November 5th, 2013. It opens in Pennsylvania as two Cub Scout leaders are telling their young group a scary story before wandering off, investigating a faint humming noise and seemingly part of the prank. This was crazy to me. I get the intention was he was basically investigating this whole humming noise, but telling them a scary story and then wandering off and leaving your kids, basically unsupervised. I mean, they had one other person there wander, so I guess you can't really call it unsupervised, but at the same time, just I doubt you'd want to do so much trauma and Vince. I guess that's not the intention for him, but I still feel like there's a small part of me that he left his kids in the woods unsupervised in a way. It felt kind of cruel. Soon, the other leader notices a cup floating in midair, sending the group racing to the truck, whose battery forcibly leaps through the hood. Just outside, the first scout leader, Adam Cross, floats in midair, dead, his body surging with electricity, which again goes back to the idea of inducing more trauma. They just lose one of their Cub Scout leaders, probably somebody that was important to these kids. So that type of thing. But the whole battery forcibly leaping through the hood, that type of thing. I mean, if you come in contact with electricity, it's going to fry the battery, and it's going to cause it to jump out of the thing. Or it's just maybe just like a gravitational thing, and that's just how it works in this type of shows. But on top of it coming out, like the battery jumping out of the car, it actually electrocutes somebody, which was insane, and leaving them forcibly suspended in midair. That was just crazy to me. Again, it's you're causing so much trauma just having something bad happen to you, on top of the scary story. So I feel bad for the kids in a way. Back on the bus though, Simmons puts Coulson through a physical. But him finds him in surprisingly good health for his age. This was interesting to me. Coulson basically mentions that he did do a physical, but his doctor recommends that, or isn't due for a checkup for I want to say another 3 months, which was insane because usually you would want to do another physical at least checkup at least within a month or something, I would say, but he's not really due for another 3 months, which was insane. Maybe the doctor's just trying to stretch it out to see how he progresses over time after the whole stabbing incident. This is where it kind of comes full circle. A lot of people are wondering, is Coulson okay this episode? I'm finding that to be a common theme throughout the season, is seeing if Coulson's the same Coulson he was back in the day, which obviously they're portraying it as not. Meanwhile, though, Fitz attempts to bond with Skye over their amusement at the icy ward, who seems to not have forgiven Skye for earlier betrayal. This I was kind of anticipating. Skye broke Shield's trust, broke Ward's trust after the whole Miles incident, them hacking him, her working with Rising Tide, that type of thing, and he had his suspicions from day one when she joined on board. So this isn't too surprising. I was, like I said, I was wondering if this was gonna come back into play later, and obviously it does because Skye ends up shadowing Ward this episode, taking a back seat, that type of thing, basically hacking and looking up information on the victim, the suspect, this whole Adam Cross situation with this Pennsylvania Boy Scout situation of him being suspended in midair, getting fried from electrocution, that type of thing. So they basically are having this nice little moment. It was nice to see that Fitz was trying to sympathize with Skye, saying we've all done bad things, that type of thing. And they basically kind of mock Ward this episode, him, saying that the gun is off by an ounce or something when it's probably fine. But it was funny because I would probably do the same thing. I'd probably mock him for just saying it's off by an ounce. He's factoring in things like winds and the target, the location of where the target is, that type of thing. I mean, it's kind of stupid, but I mean, he plays it so stoically and that type of thing that it's hard not to want to mock him. Back on the bus, though, shortly thereafter, the team is brought to the site of the still floating Adam Cross, who drops the moment Simmons touches his mysterious head wound as Coulson revolves to call Agent Blake on the matter. Back on the bus, Skye finds that Cross's background checks out clean, while an interrogation of his scout partner reveals no foul play. Coulson points out to Ward that he seems especially hard on Skye, something he justifies by her betrayal of the team. Suddenly, the groups are alerted to another electromagnetic disturbance at a local farmhouse, for which Ward, May, and Coulson race to the scene. The trio find the floating body of a man named Frank Whalen, whom Skye finds to have served as a volunteer firefighter with the Cross on the day of the Chitahuri invasion. It was interesting that they were trying to tie her back into the whole invasion and Loki's plan and the Battle of New York, that type of thing. It was nice to see that Skye was still going out in the field shadowing Ward this episode, because I thought she was just going to stay back and hack, be on the bus and that type of thing. Considering she was already handcuffed with Shield and they were watching her every move. But I'm guessing because it's under their direct supervision that she's allowed to still go out into the field as long as they're keeping an eye on her, that type of thing. But yeah, so this whole electromagnetic disturbance becomes like an invasion type thing. Not really invasion, but more like a virus, that type of thing that happens anytime you come in contact with it, you get sick. And so that's kind of how Cross was suspended in midair. He got electrocuted, that type of thing. And anybody that came in contact with him would end up, dying, that type of thing. It was kind of a little inconvenient because I was wondering, like, maybe did the Cub Scout come in contact with them, looking at the body, that type of thing. I would wonder if, like, he would want to know what happened to his friend looking at it. Maybe he just didn't touch the body and that's why he's kind of clean. But Coulson does end up actually encountering one of these guys, Tony Diaz, that is infected. He comes in contact with them after trying to talk him down, after Diaz is trying to hit him, that type of thing, with a frying pan, because he has this whole virus situation. But Coulson is not affected, even though he's in a room with them. It was more that Simmons became infected after touching Diaz, or not Diaz, after touching Adam Cross's episode. So it was kind of interesting. It felt a little inconsistent, that type of thing, because I was thinking that both of them would be infected, but it's more that Simmons because she touched him, that type of thing, I guess. But yeah, I guess Coulson doesn't get affected too much. He becomes clean. He doesn't really talk. He doesn't really like touch him. He's just kind of in an enclosed area with them. So I guess in a way that makes sense. If you don't come in contact with them, you can't really get hurt with that type of thing. So yeah, and what I really liked about that whole situation was, like, Diaz was sweating and he was just like nervous and scared about what the hell was happening to him. So you could tell he was sick. Something was off with this guy. Shield quarantines the whole firefighter's helmet, tasking Coulson's group with transporting the artifact to the sandbox facility across the globe. While May asks Coulson how he'd be feeling since his earlier physical in the air. Again, goes back to idea making sure that Coulson's okay this episode. It's interesting, like, the whole helmet, it looks like something like that was from the Chitahuri invasion. Like, it looked like a piece of, like, the alien helmets that the Chitahuri was using. So I'm wondering if that's what it was or what, because it looks similar to me. And I was curious. I don't know if they would go this far, but this guy said, like, he collected this helmet or whatever. So I was wondering if, like, he wore it or something and he got sick from it, that type of thing, from this electro by wearing it. I know he most likely wouldn't. He just said he kept it, that type of thing, for, like, cleaning and that purposes, which I'm wondering why you're keeping it that long, knowing it has, like, some sort of electromagnetic properties to it. So why would you want to keep that type of thing? And what are you exactly cleaning it for? I don't really intention, unless it's just like they were just hired to clean up after the Battle of New York, that type of thing. But firefighters don't really clean up too much. I think that's more, I guess, like, the city, that type of thing. I don't know. I guess firefighters could also do it sometimes. That's in combat media, because mostly they just put out fires, but maybe they're just lending an extra helping hand to clear debris, that type of thing. I don't really know. They didn't really specify why this Adam guy was cleaning it, that type of thing, and how they were cleaning it. It was just said like he kept it for artifact purposes and like cleaning it and that type of thing. I don't really know what he was cleaning it for, so that's just something I had a question on. And again, I may just be overthinking it. Them taking to the sandbox was cool, but they don't really show what the sandbox is. It's probably just like an off-book site that they have to keep like magical weapons, that type of thing, something that could be dangerous. Now given approximately 2 hours to live and 3 until the plane destination, Fitz and Simmons put their heads together for a cure, though, divided by the quarantine. This was a very, like, stress-inducing situation. I felt bad for Simmons. They put a lot of pressure on both Fitz and Simmons' episode to try and find a cure, but Coulson, knowing, who he's hired, that they're, like, some of the brightest people on board, especially Simmons. This is her time to shine, to figure out a cure for this type of thing, which I really do appreciate. It shows them like not being so like cute, that type of thing. It also gives them dimension, especially because Fitz and Simmons are the only people that know each other, and that kind of got put together in that type of thing, that situation. The first attempt at a cure kills the lab rat, while Ward laments to Skye that he can't save the team from problems he can't see or unsee. Meanwhile, Coulson calls Agent Blake to learn priority, dictates that they eject Simmons from the plane if she threatens the mission, though Coulson fakes a bad transmission to avoid dealing with order. This was funny to me, seeing that Coulson was just trying to avoid consequences at all costs. It shows that he has changed this episode. He's not the same one that gets orders from Fury. He mostly gives them now, which is funny. And he doesn't take shit from anybody, so he just kind of like does it on his own way. Obviously, like these government people, they're looking after them. They want to make sure they're safe. Same with like, but they understand that Simmons is on board now. She has this whole virus situation that Coulson actually finds out, which was crazy to me, that he ends up locking her into this whole cell area, and she has to like try to find the cure for it. Again, it goes back to the idea of like putting a lot of pressure on him. Fitz retrieves the helmet, races downstairs, breaching the quarantine to be with Simmons and a show of support. The pair work diligently to find a cure, but soon after, the result still kills the lab rat in the same bloating manner. Resigned to her fate, Simmons gives her last request to Coulson and asks for a moment of privacy with Fitz. Fitz goes to continue working, but Simmons knocks him out, opens the plane cargo bay door for herself. When Fitz awakens, he sees that one of the rats actually survived the cure, and was only momentarily stunned, though he fails to be alert back on Simmons in time before she leaps from the back of the plane to her death. This was interesting that she was taking action knowing that she could infect everybody else, so she decided that she was, the person that was putting everybody in danger of killing them, so she had to get off the plane no matter what. This was crazy to me that her plan was to jump out of the plane to get away from him, but it actually does track with her, this whole situation. So Ward actually goes out and jumps after her, that type of thing, to try and save her. I'm surprised Ward would put himself in that much danger. I feel like maybe Fitz should have gone after her. I get the intention is like Ward is more of a like assassin, and he's kind of going to go after and get people and that type of thing. But I feel like maybe Fitz would have fit that bill better just because they're so close, and that's the intention. I feel like that would have been a more interesting dynamic, that episode, because I just feel like it's just somebody just jumps after him because somebody jumped off the plane, that type of thing, to save him. I think maybe Fitz should have been that type of person to do that. Obviously, Coulson's not okay with this. They call him in the office, but she gets kind of like a stern talking to, saying that like what you did was not okay, but he understands why she did it, that type of thing. Going back to the idea that Coulson does trust her this episode, that type of thing. The after credits show that Coulson meets with Agent Blake outside the sandbox to deliver the helmet, though Blake reminds him that near-death experience doesn't give him license to disobey orders, telling Blake to get used to this newfound confidence. Coulson watches the agent back and leaves, tapping Lola along the way. I mean, this makes sense to me. I mean, it shows that Coulson isn't the same person, that's going to take orders from anybody anymore. He's going to more likely give them now that he's the leader of this whole operation, this type of thing. So he just had to get used to that type of thing. So made sense. But overall, I would say this episode was pretty, honestly, one of my favorite episodes. I'm not going to lie. This was it was crazy to me. This whole electromagnetic virus situation, it gave Simmons a very good character development and what she needed of her knowing that she was the cause of everything, and then her jumping out of the plane was one of my favorite sequences of all time. This episode for this show, for everything. I think the only thing that could have saved is that Fitz more or less jumped after her instead of Ward, just for a more emotional reason. I think the whole everybody checking in on Coulson, that type of thing, making sure he's okay after a physical, was really nice to see. I thought, them actually putting Skye in the field despite her not, trusting, despite Shield not trusting her, despite Ward not trusting her, I think it was still nice to see. Obviously, because I feel like if she just took a step back and was just working on the computer, it would have been a less impactful thing. So I'm glad that she was able to go into the field under Shield's directory, that type of thing, under Shield surveillance, that type of thing. As long as they keep an eye on her, she was totally fine, and not double crossing them, working with the Rising Tide. Just works with Shield, doing what she said, putting in amends. I think works as well this episode. But let me know what you guys think. What was your favorite and least favorite part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, Episode 6? And if you enjoyed the review, as always, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys in the next Geek Reviews video. Peace.